Today, we're diving into the secret language of jazz. It's kind of like a shared playbook that lets musicians from all over the world create magic together, right on the spot. We're going to explore what makes a song a standard, and then tell the story of one legendary tune that became a classic by breaking all the rules. Have you ever seen it? You're in a club, and musicians who have maybe never even met before get up on stage and just play perfectly. How do they know what the other person's going to do? How do they all know the same songs? It looks like straight up telepathy, but the real secret is even cooler.
The secret is something called a jazz standard. And yeah, you can totally think of it as the official playbook of jazz. These are songs that are so well known in the community that they become common ground for everyone. They're like musical blueprints that let musicians collaborate instantly, but also leave tons of room for them to put their own unique spin on it.
Okay, so we have this essential playbook, but where did it come from? Now, you might assume these songs were all written by jazz icons like Miles Davis or Duke Ellington, but the real story is way broader and has a lot to do with the pop culture of the time. Believe it or not, many of the most lasting jazz standards didn't start as jazz songs at all. They were adopted, or, borrowed, from what we call the Great American Songbook. We're talking catchy pop hits from New York's Tin Pan Alley, big dramatic tunes from Broadway shows, and memorable themes from old Hollywood movies. Jazz musicians were basically amazing curators, finding the best songs of their day and then completely reinventing them. And this foundation, it was built up over decades. Before the 1920s, it was all about the raw feeling of ragtime and the blues. Then the jazz age exploded in the 20s, and pop hits got a whole new life from early jazz bands. The 30s swing era saw musicians falling in love with the complex, beautiful songs coming out of Broadway. It really wasn't until the 1940s, with the arrival of bebop, that jazz artists like the brilliant Thelonious Monk began writing their own masterpieces, like Round Midnight, and adding them directly to the canon. So you can see how this history created an unwritten template for what a standard should be. But what happens when a song comes along that doesn't just bend the rules, but completely shatters them? That brings us to a tune that broke one of the most fundamental rules of popular music. So pretty much all the music you hear, pop, rock, and most jazz, is in what's called 4/4 time. It has that steady, familiar beat you can tap your foot to. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Easy, right? Well, the song we're going to talk about is in 5/4 time. It's lopsided, it's unusual, and it feels immediately different. So how does that even work? Well, instead of that simple pulse, the 5 beats are usually split into an uneven pattern, a group of 3 plus a group of 2. It creates a rhythm you can count like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has this incredibly cool, hypnotic, off-kilter swing. And that, right there, is the rhythmic puzzle our song presented to the world. All right, let's get into the incredible story of the song that took this weird rhythm and turned it into a global phenomenon, becoming one of the most famous jazz recordings of all time. Of course, I'm talking about Take 5. The craziest part is that the song was pretty much an accident. Picture it, 1958, the Dave Brubeck Quartet is touring Eurasia, and they keep hearing all this folk music with these wild time signatures. When they get back, their drummer, the amazing Joe Morello, basically tells saxophonist Paul Desmond that he's a little bored with playing in 4/4 and challenges him to write something in 5/4. So Desmond comes back with 2 melodies, Brubeck pieces them together around Morello's rhythm, and a legend was born. But here's where the story gets really unbelievable. Paul Desmond, the guy who wrote that unforgettable melody, thought the song was nothing. He apparently called it a throwaway, just a little tune for a drum solo that they'd probably never even play again. He had absolutely no idea what he had just created, because that little throwaway track didn't just disappear. Oh no. It went on to become the biggest-selling jazz single of all time. It was the very first jazz single to sell over 1 million copies, which completely shattered what anyone thought was possible for an instrumental jazz tune. And this wasn't some niche hit either. By 1961, Take 5 had completely crossed over. It was climbing pop charts all over the world. It hit number 25 on the Billboard Hot 100, competing with rock and pop stars. It even hit number 6 in the UK. This quirky, instrumental tune in 5/4 time was an international pop sensation. And there's one last beautiful chapter to this story. When Paul Desmond passed away in 1977, he left all the royalties from his songs, including Take 5, to the American Red Cross. So the song he once dismissed has since generated millions and millions of dollars for charity. Just incredible.
So, what does the incredible, completely unexpected success of a song like Take Five tell us about the idea of a jazz standard in the first place?
It proves that the jazz canon is not some static, dusty thing in a museum. It's a living, breathing tradition that's capable of absorbing radical new ideas. Take Five showed that a song could break the rules of rhythm and structure and not only be accepted by jazz musicians, but be embraced by the entire world. And that spirit of evolution defines the whole repertoire. The list of beloved standards covers every era of the music, from early tunes like St. Louis Blues and swing classics like Take the A Train, to the cool modernism of So What, the bossa nova craze, and the fusion experiments of the 70s. That playbook is always getting bigger. And that evolution is still happening today, in studios, in classrooms, and yeah, on laptops all over the world. A new generation is reinterpreting the classics and composing the tunes that will keep this shared language vibrant and alive for years to come. Which leaves us with one final fascinating question. What songs being written right now are going to stand the test of time? What tune, maybe one that breaks rules we don't even know exist yet, will become the next Take Five? The song that the jazz musicians of tomorrow will simply have to know.